everybody. Great to see you. My name is Jess Houlgrave. I am the CEO at WalletConnect, and excited to share with you today some of the... Yeah? Okay. Hopefully you can hear me better now. Excited to share with you today some of the findings that we have from our latest industry reports, as well as some of the insights that we get by providing the network service that we do within Web3. WalletConnect has been around since 2018. I joined the project at the end of last year. We connect millions of wallets and apps together every month. We have about 600 wallets that integrate on one side of the network and thousands of applications that integrate on the other side of the network. And most end users will be familiar with us because when you click into an application and you click Connect Wallet, it's this infrastructure that you're likely passing through in order to be able to access that application. And we do that through two different SDKs, one that sits on the wallet side that provides a bunch of functionality to all of our wallet partners. And then on the application side, and this is where I'm going to dive in a little bit more depth today and what we're seeing there, we provide an SDK that provides really easy onboarding for new users if they don't already have a wallet, access to all of our 600 plus wallet network to connect their wallet, the ability to on-ramp and buy crypto if you don't have it, to swap into any token that you need without leaving the app interface. And so hopefully bringing the experience that many of us are used to when we access Web 2 applications, much more kind of a familiar process, and bringing that to developers who are building Web3 applications. And we do this cross-chain and across many different platforms. And mobile first is a big thing for us. It's showing up a lot in the applications that we're seeing come on board to the network, and also showing up in some of this user research that we do as well. I think my main mission at WalletConnect is to make user experience better. I've been walking around in a t-shirt all week that says, bad UX stole my smile. And I think many of us, every time we use a Web3 application, and I love to try everything that is built on our network, every single time there's something about this that feels unintuitive to me. It's either too slow, there are too many clicks, I'm worried about the security elements of it. And these are all things that I think as an industry, we have an awful lot more to deliver to people if we really want this technology to be adopted. And so one of the things that we do is actually, although we're a B2B project, we do a lot of surveys of end consumers as well. And this last one that we did, we conducted the survey at the beginning of this year. We've just done another one, but I don't have the results yet. But we did the survey at the beginning of this year to find out more about what people were thinking about with respect to their interactions with Web3, what they wanted to see, and what they, most importantly, I think, were struggling with and what they needed from us, from apps, and also from wallets. And so I'm going to share with you some of the insights for this over the next 10 minutes or so. You can also download the report from our website if you're interested in the in-depth results. But this shows you a little bit about who we surveyed. For this report, we surveyed people who explicitly said that they had used crypto within the last 3 months. So we were narrowing the focus from other surveys about people who had some familiarity. And whilst this doesn't necessarily then represent the wider population, it allowed us to focus a little bit more on some specific questions rather than very high-level questions that were relevant to non-crypto users. And we did this across the US and the UK, yeah, this is sort of the demographics. And what we did from the survey results combined with the demographics is to try and identify these specific user groups based on the trends that we were seeing and how they were engaging with crypto. And this has allowed us to break down the data, both in a helpful way to our apps so that they, if they're an NFT app, they can focus on what the people who are focused on NFTs wanting to see. And we saw a lot of difference actually in terms of how these user groups thought about security, thought about the end user experience that they wanted to see going forward. So I'm specifically, because this is the NFT and culture stage, I'm specifically going to call out some of the NFT pieces, but you can see all of this data in the full report as well. And overall, what we found was that although these people were saying that they were like active crypto users, only 50% of them said that they were really engaged with this as a latest technology, which is kind of curious for people who are using this, but perhaps aren't feeling super excited by it. And I guess most worryingly for me, 50% said they didn't actually feel confident in using it. And I'll touch a little bit more in depth on some of the things that came out of that, but I think it really highlights the need for us as an industry, as builders, to create more confidence for users, because if we're talking to people who already use crypto, are already familiar with it, they've already gone through the pain of getting a wallet and loading it and doing all of that sort of stuff. If they don't feel confident with it, we've got an awful long way to go before we can take somebody who's not really interested in the technology at all, but just wants to use an app and isn't willing to go through some of that friction and onboard them into this industry. So we found that 16% of total respondents said that they were actively seeking new experiences. 40% were kind of open to it. The other 60 seemed to be quite entrenched in what they were doing. So if they were there for DeFi, they weren't really interested in exploring the NFT platforms. If they were there for NFTs, they weren't actively trading. And so we do definitely see this very fragmented types of users within crypto who have some cross-pollination with each other. But it doesn't necessarily support the idea that just because I'm going to engage with crypto from one perspective, I'm necessarily interested in some of the other offerings. But one of the sort of the three consistent things that came out from these surveys about what they were looking for were more NFT experiences, more Web3 social and messaging experiences, and this one specifically for the most active users, those who were identifying as using crypto products and services at least once a week or more, they were particularly engaged with this social and messaging concept. And then people also saying that they wanted more community, more governance models, and more ways to engage. 19% of the total respondents said that they owned NFTs. And this I found very interesting because DeFi people and cryptonauts said that they owned at least one NFT, so they have very high penetration of an NFT kind of ownership amongst these groups. But the people who are most active in purchasing NFTs and really had engaged with NFTs most recently represented like a much smaller group of the population. But they were very active. So when you look at this, which is the NFT user group, engaging once a week or every day, this kind of combined some 50% is much higher than the average in this kind of high activity user group, where some of them identified as more like 30% of people were using this once a week or more in some of the other user groups. They were also the most satisfied users. So on average, 39% of people said that they were either somewhat or extremely satisfied with their crypto experience. But NFT enthusiasts scored really highly there. So obviously what the NFT ecosystem is doing here is providing an experience that those people are really enjoying, maybe more so than other parts. My hypothesis is maybe that this is also market dependent, and if you're a DeFi kind of person or a trader, maybe you're more satisfied at other points in the cycle than you were in January of this year. But we definitely see this very distinct levels of satisfaction depending on these user groups. And then overall, from a wallet perspective, what we found, and I'll link these two together in a moment, but what we found from the wallet perspective was that most people had more than one wallet, and they wanted different wallets for different things. This has long been a hypothesis for WalletConnect. It's why we exist, because of this fragmentation on the wallet side. And we see the Gini coefficient of wallet distribution going down. So we see the people with big market share on wallets actually losing some market share, more and more new wallets coming on board onto the WalletConnect network, and gaining market share. And I think that this is because wallets are creating more innovative user experiences. No longer do we have a situation where every single wallet has the same UI and offers the same interface and the same experience, but actually more wallets are now being built with very custom use cases in mind. So we've got wallets that have dedicated great experiences for NFT holders. We've got wallets with better trading capabilities built into them. And it's makes complete sense to me that I'm not holding my life savings in the same wallet that I'm purchasing coffee with or running a crypto game with. And so this idea that people are having more than one wallet and actively using more than one wallet is something that we see supported in this data as well as in our own network data. But people still point out a lot of challenges with using those wallets. Some of them are around the idea of self-custody and whether or not I'm losing my seed phrase, passphrase. I think the positive news here is that there's a lot of work being done with smart accounts and other standards that reduce some of this risk for end users. People losing their hardware wallet was very common. And then a lot of people identifying as having lost access due to malware or phishing. And particularly on the phishing side, whilst 70% of people said that they hadn't actually lost assets to this, I still think that's a tiny number relative to where it should be. A lot of people were very worried about losing crypto funds. And this was kind of right across the board, but the pink group here is our NFT group, who said that they were amongst the most worried about losing access and losing crypto or NFTs due to phishing. On the other side of this kind of paradigm of people being really worried about security, I think I was probably most surprised to see that only about 27% of people said that they used the security features that were available to them, i.e. these are not wished-for things, but these are things that they could have access to, but just aren't using them. And 6% actually kind of actively acknowledge, I think the question was, I identify as being too lazy to use these security features. And so although a lot of people are pointing to security as being one of the main reasons that they're not engaging more with Web3, even the things that are available to them, they're not actually actively using. And I think with every challenge comes a bit of an opportunity, and I think here is an opportunity for us to reconsider how we think about security for end users within the wallet and the app experience, which if users aren't using what's available to them, we're doing something wrong. We're either not educating them, we're not making it easy enough to use those features, we're not emphasizing the importance of using those features, we're maybe not having those features automatically switched on and enforced, but asking people to opt in. And I think if we're in a situation where over 30% of people that we're surveying say that they've lost crypto, and yet people aren't using the security features available to them, we've got a big kind of chasm to cross before, I think, as an industry, we should be thinking about how we onboard new people. Despite this security thing, sentiment is on the rise. People are satisfied in general with what they're experiencing with crypto. And people are optimistic, most importantly. But there are a few kind of key things that people have called out as still missing. the limited offering, which we touched on, that think that these are not secure enough experiences and that they're not user-friendly enough. And so when we think about how we transform this into a kind of call to action for the industry, I think there are elements where we can invest more at the application layer specifically. We've all invested so much over recent years in infrastructure and in giving us the tooling to create these experiences, that now is the time to actually create those experiences. And so building in the NFT space, in Web3 social and messaging, community and governance and payments is really important. Haven't got gaming on here because gaming is another one of those segments where people who identify as gaming, very strictly kind of restricted to gaming, they tend to not cross over, but they're very loyal in that segment. And there's a whole section in the fuller report about those who identify as gamers and what they want from Web3, which again is somewhat distinct from what the rest of the user groups want. They want lower gas fees, they want faster settlement, all of these things that are kind of specific to some of those use cases. We also need to make crypto more usable. This is a big thing that we're focused on at WalletConnect, improving the connection experience through what we call less clicks is more, the ability for dApps to sponsor transactions for their end users. I, for one, dread that moment every time that I try to do something. It says, you don't have enough gas for this. And as an application builder, if you're trying to onboard new people to crypto, the last thing that you want to be doing is educating them about what gas is, rather than just giving them a delightful gaming experience or a delightful payments experience or anything else. And so the work, I think, that's going on, both on smart accounts, but also things like 7702, which are going to enable this for all account holders, is going to radically transform that consumer experience for people who want to be using Web3 on a day-to-day basis. And then finally, in this sort of user experience section, the thing that I'm maybe most excited about is the idea of permissions and being able to grant apps access to permissions to use my funds. So no longer in every game, every time I'm doing something, I'm going back to my wallet to authorize that. But I can set the permissions using session keys to say, I'll spend up to $100 per week in this game, and allowing the app to execute that on my behalf. That extends to things like subscription payments, to buying my newspaper all the time, to being able to make donation payments when I receive things, and brings us, I think, incrementally closer to what feels like a much more familiar Web 2 user experience, rather than the experience that we have today within Web 3. And then finally, on user experience and security, transaction simulation, some of our partners at Ledger announced clear signing, making it very clear what actions users are actually taking. Smart accounts and the elimination of seed phrases, and our Verify API, which creates domain verification and root certificates for actors within our network to create extra security. So these are the kind of things that I think we've got a lot to do and a lot to work on in order to deliver some of these things that our end users want. And I think with that, I've got about 1 minute for a question if anybody wants one. No questions? In that case, I think... we do have one. Hello.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Paul from Profile.io. We're building in the social space, all account abstracted, and this may be a very dumb question, but do you facilitate account abstracted wallets alongside all of the EOAs as well within WalletConnect?
Yeah, we do. So we work with account abstracted wallets in a number of ways. We have our own embedded smart account wallet that we partner with Safe on. So this is, if you're building an application, it's part of our AppKit SDK. And for new users, they can come and create smart accounts using email addresses, social logins, without any of the need to set up anything. The unique thing about what we do there is that these are universal, and so they're not dApp specific. I'm very... whilst I love that we've solved some of the onboarding challenges with Web3, I also hate the idea that consumers end up with thousands of different wallets with like dust amounts of crypto in them. And so our offering here is something that we call a universal wallet. So that user can take that wallet to any application that's using AppKit and have a kind of much more authentic Web3 experience as a result of that. We've also got a lot of partners in the network who have smart account wallets. So OKX was one of the first to launch a smart account enabled like mobile wallet. You can access that through the WalletConnect network as well. And we see a lot of direction kind of towards obviously the smart account space, but also I think with 7702 that I mentioned earlier, we're going to see a lot more capabilities between EOAs and smart accounts as that crossover point. Things like gas sponsorship, they're going to make it really easy for every EOA user to benefit from some of the things that are happening on that side as well.
Thank you. I'm Gaute. I work in the Oslo municipality, so I'm a government employee, and I think that makes me one of a few here. In Oslo, we're doing a pilot project where we're implementing digital wallet for the public. Our experiment is on liquor license. Are you familiar with EIDAS? I've been asking a lot of people about that, and they don't know about it. Are you familiar? It's the EU regulation.
For identity standards?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a specific question about it, or do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, well, so my question is like, if you want to onboard the public onto Web3, EIDAS would be a huge lift with onboarding 500 million EU citizens.
Yeah.
And then I wonder if it's something on your agenda.
Yeah, so I think about the sort of future of wallet. I think that it encompasses a few things. Today it's where I hold my assets, but I think in the future it's going to be where I control my data, where I control my identity, where I control my payments. It's going to be the sort of central location for all of these things and activities that I want to do. And identity is a really, really important part of that. We know that the kind of pillar use cases of crypto are around payments. Anything to do with transmission of money needs to have some form of KYC associated with it if it's over a certain amount. So we do a lot of work with partners around things like the travel rule, around how we take identity standards and make sure that they're compatible with on-chain, because you can think about the WalletConnect network almost like the kind of partner to blockchains, because our messaging system is encrypted end-to-end on an off-chain basis. And when I do a transaction on-chain, even though I might need to transmit KYC data, for example, I don't want that information to be on-chain. And so exploring how we can use the WalletConnect network for the secure transmission of data and authorization of that data without needing to put it on-chain is something that we do. We partner with a lot of identity companies on, as well as actually a lot of apps who need this on the other end in the payments space, for example. I'd be happy to talk about it.